All right, let's skip over what we can here. This is official US PlayStation Magazine demo disc number 60. I was trying to do issue, what was it? 50. It was an earlier one I was trying to do, and I spent the last 10 minutes trying to get the disc to load in this emulator, and I couldn't get it to work. Maybe I'll go back to it later, but I could not get it to work. So let's do games to begin with, because that's what everyone wants to see. The Vault. We've got the same animations. XMen Dimensions. Is this... Have we played this already in an earlier episode of DDT? I know I played an X-Men fighting game before. There could have been more than one. Activision. Who is this? Paradox. Really? Paradox? Paradox is better known nowadays for developing strategy games. Turn-based strategy games and real-time strategy games. I know there's some controversy because they picked up the intellectual property for Vampire the Masquerade. They were going to do a sequel to Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines, this kind of awkward diamond in the rough Xbox game. And it was so outside of their wheelhouse that, like, the president of the company resigned. She ended up resigning, saying that the company's goals and all that didn't align with what she wanted to do, which I guess was that they were moving, kind of branching out from the strategy game thing with the vampire game. So I guess that's what I'm assuming anyway. Okay, I think it was a PlayStation 1 X-Men game that I played. Anyway, it's I never really looked into the history of Paradox. So I guess maybe they did do other stuff beforehand, but they're mostly known nowadays for... Geez, it's like playing as Eddie Gordo. Mostly known nowadays for their strategy games like Hearts of Iron and such. I had a fairly lengthy video some months ago for Hearts of Iron 2. I always intended to revisit that because I'd gotten about halfway through the war. It'd been a while since I'd played the game, so I didn't really remember exactly what to do, but I'd botched my playthrough. Oh shit. Yeah, I don't really follow comic books or any of the superhero movies or TV shows or anything, so I don't know who these characters are. Oh, Beast. That's oh shit, I'm about to snuff it, aren't I? Oh, okay. That was Kelsey Grammer, wasn't it? In that X-Men movie that everyone hated. Time over. Do I win? Okay, I win. Okay. Give me more time. Did I start hitting her before the round started? Phoenix. That name, I mean, other than the mythological bird. Oh, that was, oh god, the X-Men movies. That was the Bond girl, wasn't it? Oh, jeez. She has an unpronounceable name. Whatever. This, I mean, I guess it's a competent fighting game, although it's not. It doesn't have that tight of controls. Whatever. Doesn't look that great. I mean, 2002. That's not, well, fall 2002. That's not terribly early in the PlayStation 2's life cycle. So you'd think that developers would have had a little bit more of a handle on development for the machine by that point. But, you know, who am I to judge? better than any game I've ever made. Alright, I don't want to look at this loading screen, so I'm going to set a save state back at the menu so I can just hop back to that when I'm done with the game. The Mark of Kri. Now, I definitely played a demo of this in an earlier demo disc. I mean, sometimes you saw games resurfacing in these demo discs a few times. They would, I'm assuming the way that the economics of this worked was that these functioned as ads. Now, Sony Computer Entertainment America, I mean, they would have had a deal with whoever it was, Ziff Davis or whoever the hell it was that published the official US PlayStation magazine. But I imagine these demos were actually ads, which they would pay to have. And then maybe once they had the demo in their possession and they could put it on their disc, they could have put it on a later disc. Or maybe sometimes Sony or Activision or whoever the hell might want it on multiple discs to really get the word out for their new game. But I'm pretty sure I played Mark of Kri on a previous demo disc. Oh, that was cool. It faded from that. It faded from that painting to the actual environment. See, this is not a bad-looking game. I mean, it's stylized. It's not trying to look realistic. But the environment is suitably detailed. It's not barren. I'm not reading any of this. Just let me go. This game was something of a big deal. I mean, I didn't, other than the demo, I didn't own it. But it had something about it where, like, the multiple enemies would be mapped to the face buttons. And you'd be able to quickly skip. I don't know what I'm doing. To attack multiple enemies, like a way of fighting them, multiple enemies at once. It's not the kind of thing that ended up catching on in the industry. I think the a sort of Assassin's Creed or let's not say Assassin's Creed, but the Arkham game. Okay. The Arkham way of doing things where you could attack. You would flick your stick in the direction that you wanted to attack, and then you would hit the X or square or whatever button. And your character would change directions and attack in that way, and then you can also lock on and stuff. That's different than this. I mean, this, I'm actually a little taken aback by this, because once I get into an attack sequence or a combo, I can't change direction. And I'm not seeing this whole face button mapping thing. Ooh, kill animation. But I mean, this was, even though it's 2002, and this is the PlayStation 2, not the PlayStation 1, it's still fairly early in the realm of 3D games. Oh, I took his head off. So they're still working it out. I mean, I'd say a lot of genres at the time didn't really get a good handle on the way that they worked, like these action games. The Arkham games didn't come around until the PS360 generation, and they really sort of exemplified how good combat would work. And I say like Shadow of Mordor and stuff came in the generation later, which kind of plays the same way. But Assassin's Creed had, I mean, the combat could be a little simplistic at times, but it definitely plays better than this, and that was a generation later. First-person shooters, as much as it may seem like it was great to have things like Perfect Dark or GoldenEye or Medal of Honor at the time, it really wasn't until Halo on... don't let him live. Stick that in his ass. It wasn't until Halo that you really started to see a modern feeling first-person shooters on consoles, which was in this generation, and around about this time also, but on a different console, of course. Although I would argue that, although Halo did sort of set a standard in a way for first-person shooters, Call of Duty had actually been the one that set the modern standard, the way that most first-person shooters have to emulate. Okay, so what is this face button mapping thing? I'm pretty sure this is the game I was thinking of, where the face buttons surround the different characters, the different enemies. Oh yeah, put away your sword, bro. That'll help. You're way bigger than these guys, but they're armed and there's way more of them than you. How do I... There we go. There was a sequel to this. Maybe it was a sequel that I played in a demo disc. Because this... Alright, I'm dead. Moving on. Hot Shots Golf 3. Played a Hot Shots Golf game in an earlier demo disc. I know that much. I don't think it was this one. I think it might have been a PS1 game. I never owned any of these, but I did play them a little bit on the demo disc. It's not really my thing. Never been into golf. Remember there was some, I'd read a, maybe it was on like ESPN's website or something like that. There was some golfer, I forget, I don't know what her name was, but she's like one of them really hot golfers that get all the attention. And she had said that all the guys she dates just want to hit her up for golfing tips. Look at her running up to the ball. Oh, that wasn't her, was it? Was still. I'm not getting my timing right. There's some delay. There's some input lag, which is screwing me up there. I remember thinking though, like, oh, all these guys that she's dating just want to hit her up for golfing tips. Like, hey, how about, I guarantee you I won't ask you for golfing tips. Why don't, give me a shot? Ooh, ultra shot. Oh, the game's playing slow. Shit, I don't know. What am I supposed to do here? Hey, I got it. The game's playing slow. It's just an emulator problem. I doubt the actual game was like that. Hot Shots did have a particular kind of art style to it, which you had these sort of like exaggerated characteristics characters, so super deformed, almost chibi style, big heads, big hands, big feet. You know, it's not, I wouldn't say it's an ugly style. Yeah, there's definitely an input lag. I have to hit the button well before I feel like I should in order to time it right. Oh, sand trap. Alright, let's just, yeah, it's like an eighth of a second is the input lag on this. Probably because the game is running so slow. The game is running so slow, and it's... Plus, I mean, I'm not running it on real hardware, of course, so... I'm not, shit. No, too hard, too hard. Ah. Okay. Moving on. This game's not running right. Frequency. A rhythm game before rhythm games really got popular. Now, I do remember this. I do remember playing this, although it's another game that I never owned. Rhythm games and dance games are sort of in the same category as far as I'm concerned. So you had the dance games like, and the related games like Bust a Groove and Parappa the Rapper and crap like that. But you had frequency, and then eventually you saw this brought to its... God, both of these are going to stuck. Brought to sort of the ultimate example of this kind of thing with Guitar Hero and then Rock Band, which expanded it even further. But Guitar Hero was originally a PlayStation 2 game. Okay, it's a good thing that input lag isn't really... Oh, okay. It's pushing the wrong button. This plays like Guitar Hero. Of course, I'm using a regular controller instead of a peripheral shaped like a... Ah, shit. How am I supposed to do... I was never that great at Guitar Hero. I did think Guitar Hero was probably the best party game ever made. Or actually, Rock Band was the best party game ever made, because it... I'm trying to talk while playing this game. It was the best party game ever made because it allowed multiple people to play something that didn't require competition against each other. It was all about cooperation. It allowed multiple people to do something. You could switch off the instruments. Music is a very personal thing. That's why I don't like subjecting other people to my taste in music. But there was just enough mass market appeal to have like the Guitar Hero style music, which in the early days anyway was all rock music. Sort of the contemporary rock music of the era. At least that's how I remember it. But okay, this is not as fun as Guitar Hero. Just having that friggin' thing in your hands, pretending that you're playing guitar, is just so much more appealing than tapping buttons on a controller and rolling around in this weird five-sided tunnel or whatever. It's a hard one too, because I'm trying to time things. It's hard for me to talk over this. Medal of Honor Frontline. Definitely had a demo of this in an earlier episode. First-person shooter. I was so excited for this game, though, because I loved Medal of Honor. Medal of Honor was like I was talking a few minutes back during the earlier demo. First-person shooters were really like developing at a rather rapid rate at the time. And you had first-person shooters on the PlayStation 1 before Medal of Honor came out. And I'd say you actually had a really good... this actually controls somewhat modern-like. Dual-stick control, all that. You had a very good port of Doom on the PlayStation 1. But Doom was from a few years earlier on PCs. And... was from a few years earlier, so it wasn't really pushing any boundaries. Damn it, Rusky. Not Rusky. You're not Russian, you're German. God, what the hell's wrong with me? I feel bad about that. I got the nationality of the antagonist wrong. Okay, this control's fairly modern in terms of dual stick control, but my precision is just terrible. Which guns? Reload. Reload. Fuck it. You lucky bastard. Anyway, Medal of Honor comes out. Okay, so you had a very good port of Doom, but Doom was an old game. And then you had things like Timesplitters. No, Timesplitters. God, what the hell's wrong with me? That's the wrong generation. You had Doom, you had like PO'd and all that kind of stuff. But it wasn't until Medal of Honor that you actually had a good, or at least good for the era, first-person shooter on the PlayStation 1. And I loved it. I played that game so many times. And I was so excited for Medal of Honor Frontline, because PS2, like, everything about what made Medal of Honor 1, like any bad parts about it, felt like it was a result of technical constraints of the console. That the console just wasn't that well suited for that style of game. So it's like, oh, well, the PlayStation 2, you remove all those technical constraints, everything should be so much better. I ended up, not really being that impressed with it.
Attack!
How do I do that? There we go. Oh, you're not German. No friendly fire. What are you shooting at? But, the game wasn't... I would say it wasn't what I had hoped for. And like I said, Call of Duty was not that far removed from this era. There were Call of Duty games... Whoops, okay. There were Call of Duty games on the PlayStation 2. Big red one, I think. Look at that dude. Dude, seriously. There were Call of Duty games on the PlayStation 2. It was towards the end of this era that you really started to see advancements in the genre. And then, of course, the following generation, the PS360 generation, really carried it forward. Okay, can I take this tank out with grenades? Let's find out. And I guess that's a no. And first-person shooters, of course, evolved quite significantly, pretty quickly. So, like, I can go back and I can play, like, Metal Gear Solid. Well, let's say not Metal Gear Solid, but... took out its tread. You can play a lot of older games and say, like, oh, well, they aged pretty well. First-person shooters up until, like, 05, 06 or so aged pretty poorly. There are a couple of examples where perhaps the game holds up better. I'd say Half-Life 2 holds up fairly well. Not as well as a lot of people. People talk about Half-Life 2 like it was the second coming. I think it was a great game in the era, and I think it's still a good game. But it doesn't play like a modern game.
Private, come in!
I don't know how to climb. Oh shit! That was a mistake. Get out of there! Okay. Press action button. Seriously? Ah! Wow, this is really... That is not intuitive at all. Okay, so I had to hit triangle. Then I have to look up in order to... put a machine gun up in this tower. Man, that thing has got crazy accuracy. I blew up a tank with a machine gun. Amazing. What is this thing firing? No friendly fire, right? Am I done here? Video game logic. Let me jump down. Let me be quick about this. There we go. Shot him in the ass. Stop doing that. I do remember this demo now. I do remember climbing the tower. What the hell was he doing? Look at that texture on this board. It's just a really low-res texture stretched vertically. Oh, come on. How am I supposed to get through there? So goofy. Where's that third guy? How do I get through here? Come on. It's not about damage, is it? Oh, here we are. Starting to get the hang of this.
Squad, move in.
Would be nice if there were a reticule on the screen. Yeah, keep running into the side of that tank there, bud. What? There we go.
Private John Castro, 4516-16707.
Forward, answer me, now!
Private John Castro, 4516-16707.
Speak or die, I say!
That's all you're getting out of me, Kraut.
Useless.
Okay. I guess I got a POW. Is he already dead? Yeah, he's dead. Thanks for not noticing me shooting you in the back. Destroy fuel drums to breach wall. What wall? What fuel drums? Hey bud, how you like this? Oh shit! He picked it back at me. Oh yeah, I remember that. That was something that could happen in the original Medal of Honor. Fuel drums. Destroy fuel drums. Uh-huh. My memories of this are kind of mixed up with my memories of playing Call of Duty 2. Like, the layout of this level, it's things that I had thought I had played in Call of Duty 2. Which, of course, Call of Duty 2, I mean, it's probably best remembered by a lot of people for being a Xbox 360 game. But it was primarily a PC game. Call of Duty hadn't really made the switch over to being a primarily console game yet. The first Call of Duty, I think... Oh, I'm dead. Alright. Timesplitters 2. Speaking about PlayStation 2. PlayStation 2 first-person shooter games. Timesplitters was made by Free Radical, which was a studio made out of a bunch of ex-Rareware developers. Guys who had worked on GoldenEye 007 and then Perfect Dark. Timesplitters 1 was a pretty big deal because GoldenEye and Perfect Dark were basically considered to be the apex of the console first-person shooters at the time in their era. And then you had these developers go and apply their talents into a different company, newer generation hardware, newer generation everything, and then they jumped to Sony apparently, because Timesplitters 1 and 2 I think were just PlayStation 2 games. I think Timesplitters 3 there was an Xbox version. But anyway, this was a big deal. And I remember, and Timesplitters 1 anyway was a great game. Early PlayStation 2 FPSs. God, what? God, what am I doing? This does kind of play a little bit GoldenEye-ish. It's not that great. I mean, die, you fucker. I do like the auto-aim. It's got a generous auto-aim, which is something that Medal of Honor didn't have, and Medal of Honor really did need. I need to learn to trust the auto-aim. And I'm crouching, aren't I? There we go. Timesplitters 1, I'd say, a lot of people said Timesplitters 2 was better, and it probably was. But Timesplitters 1 was the one that I think was a bigger deal in its day, because it was the... Someone shooting me? Okay. Where'd you come from? These guys take a strange number of shots before they die. Haha. Headshot. This does feel like the level layout and all that kind of stuff is GoldenEye-esque. Press. I'm pressing. Okay. Can't I get some sort of like a machine gun? There we go. That's what I wanted. Jeez, I'm getting a rest cramp. I kind of want to end this game, but I'll give it a few more minutes. Yes, there must have been something that I do with that steam valve. There we go. Do I get it to 0? Is that what I'm supposed to do? Oh, okay, yeah, I do get it to 0. And I can get through that door. Open. How quickly I'm zipping around this environment. them hurt you. These guys can't tell that gunshots are going off in the distance. Let me through. I guess maybe what I liked about Timesplitters 1 was how goofy it was. This has got a similar art style, but it's not quite as goofy. I want my goof. That guy's looking around like, where did I just get shot from? Standing right in front of him. Seriously, guys? Leave me the hell alone. Come on, die. What are you doing? There we go. Oh, somebody's still here. Oh, you're not dead yet? That was a woman. Is this the way through? No. Man, I don't know where to go. It's just an enemy box. Alright, I thought maybe that was the way through. What do I do? There's a control room over there. That's got to be it, right? But I can't get in. Oh, I can get in. Game over. Okay. Transworld Surf. That's a video. The only surfing game I ever remember playing was the old California Games, the NES version of California Games. And I didn't like the surfing portion. It's kind of amazing to think that how the world of video games has developed, because this is an era where a game like this could have been a full price. A lot of PlayStation 2 games tend to be in the $50 mark. $50 retail release for a game that is just surfing. Whereas nowadays, this would be packaged as part of like a larger game. If this kind of thing existed at all, it would be packaged either as part of a larger game, sort of like how Grand Theft Auto 5 has so many little mini games in it, or it would be like a Steam release, which would sell for something like $30 or $20 or something like that, instead of $50 release. Not to say that it's a bad concept for a game or anything like that, but there's just not a whole hell of a lot to it. Does actually look pretty good. This kind of thing really would not have been possible on the PlayStation 1. Maybe you could have done something like this in the N64, though you would have a hard time making it look good. But all of that, the wave geometry and stuff like that, was just not the kind of thing the PlayStation 1 was designed to do. Seems as though the engineers of the PS2 put a lot of effort into giving it the ability to do things like that, which is why you're seeing it here. Infograms made that. World Tour Soccer 2002, it's a video. 989. remember I mentioned before, like 989 was a studio that came about. The second half of PlayStation 1's life cycle was a first-party Sony studio, which they did a lot of like the later Twisted Metal games and stuff like that. But eventually, the reputation, or anyway, I thought, I don't know if everyone else thought this, but my perception of 989 was that they were kind of a low-end studio that just churned out like the cheaper budget games for the Sony consoles. Eventually, though, they seem to have shed off most of the other genres and focused on sports games. You know, 989 sports, you got football, you soccer, basketball, whatever. Sports games did get a pretty big... all the sports games really did get kind of a significant jump up in terms of quality when you jumped into this console generation. They did even over the course of the previous console generation. Like the PlayStation 1, if you look at some early PlayStation 1 sports games, you would say that, like, you know what, that looks nice, but other than sort of existing on a 3D plane, a more convincing one than the sort of Mode 7 stuff you'd see on the SNES, you would say that wasn't something that was something that could have been done on the Super Nintendo or something like that. But then as the generation went further, you started to see like, oh, they went from the sort of pseudo sprite-based graphics to fully modeled 3D characters and stuff like that. So it was a pretty big change, especially if you look at like the early NFL games on the PlayStation 1, and then you look at like NFL Blitz. Blitz looks so much better. The characters are modeled in 3D and all that kind of stuff. It's a huge leap in visual style and everything like that. PlayStation 2, they rolled that kind of experience they had in really making quality sports games into just better hardware. But I remember in the early days there were just some real examples of some shitbox games that came out, where it's like, well, they couldn't get the handle on it, so like the AI was kind of bad. My God, dude, your shoulders are freaking me out. Anyway, moving on. Not a soccer fan. The Terminator: Dawn of Fate. That's another video. Los Angeles, 2027. The machines of Skynet have risen. You are mankind's only hope. I don't know if I played this. 3 unique playable characters. 11 heart-pounding missions. 10 most wanted... Oh, never mind. Anyway, I love the Terminator series, or at least 1 and 2. The rest of them go suck a dick. But the games tended to be bad. I remember the first Terminator game I played was a Sega Genesis Terminator game. And I remember, like, I played it because, you know, you play what you have when you're a kid. But it wasn't any good. And every other Terminator game, I remember there was an arcade game, a Terminator arcade game that was a sort of light gun game and had these big machine guns mounted to the thing. I remember that being awesome. I should go to a local arcade and see if I can find that. I want to play that again. But anyway, all the other Terminator games, until I'd say the whatever the PC one that came out, the recent one that came out in like 2019, that one was all right. It was by no means a fantastic game, but I have a review of it. One of the few games I've reviewed on this channel. I can't remember what it was called though. Terminator something. But that was an alright. It was a first-person shooter. It was... What it did right I mean, the shooting mechanics were all right, and the environment design was fairly boring. But what it did right that everyone else who seems to be making Terminator games does wrong is it had a respect for the source material. And it was jammed full of references and callbacks and all that kind of stuff. But overall, I'd say it succeeded because it respected what it was supposed to be. Turok Evolution. Confession to make, I did not like Turok Dinosaur Hunter. Of course, I was a kid and you play the games you had. My brother actually had the N64, not me. It was one of those situations. Pretty sure he must have bought it with his own money, because there's no way our mom would let him just stick that in his bedroom and not let me touch it. Anyway, he eventually would let me play the N64, and Turok Dinosaur, that was a short video, shit. Turok Dinosaur Hunter, another example of one of the better first-person shooters of that generation. I found it frustrating. I never liked the way it controlled, and I thought I do like dinosaurs, but I thought the design for a lot of it was boring. Anyway, Turok, I guess, was a comic book. That's what I hear anyway. But I'm pretty sure the series of games sort of petered out and no one gives a damn anymore. Need for Speed Hot Pursuit 2.
31 County.
Need for Speed. One of the Need for Speed in the PlayStation 1 era was one of the sort of kind of that and Ridge Racer and all that were sort of like, well, I guess Need for Speed came out for like the 3DO and stuff beforehand, but Need for Speed was like a big deal on the PlayStation 1. But it really like took a new level when you got to Hot Pursuit, which was a PlayStation 1 game. And I remember wanting to get that game, but never being able to. I mean, there was a lot of games I wanted in that generation that I just couldn't afford. Couldn't afford all the games that I wanted. So majority of the games that I wanted to play, I would either have to find some way to rent them, which our local video store did not have a huge selection of games, or I would just not play them. Hot Pursuit 2, PlayStation 2 version, I do not even remember existing. I think the concept of being chased by the cops and all that was a big deal in Hot Pursuit, but it was taken to a much higher level with Driver. And then, of course, Grand Theft Auto 3 set the new standard, which Grand Theft Auto has been setting a new standard with every release since then. With Disney Stitch Experiment 626. What the fuck is this? Oh, is this like a game adaptation of Lilo and Stitch? Lilo? Is that what it's called? Lilo? Lilu? Lilu is the character from The Fifth Element. It's probably not Lilu. Leela? No, Leela is the character from Futurama. Yeah, I don't know. Who cares? It's a game based on a Disney movie. I had not given a damn about any Disney movies since I was 10. Maybe the game wasn't actually bad, though. I'm getting kind of Ratchet and Clank vibes from it. Was this character capable of speaking? I don't know. Because when you have these like action platformers like this, I think your character needs to be verbal. Give him some personality. You know, I don't know. I can't remember if this character is capable of speaking. The impression I have is no. It's a longer video. I'm 50 minutes into this, so I'm hoping I get through all of the games in the hour mark. So then I could split this video into 2 chunks and have the second hour be all the extra features. Come on. Yeah, I'm definitely getting Ratchet and Clank vibes from this. Okay, I get it. Sly Cooper! Another video. So when I was saying that you had this was the early, I said it like 45 minutes ago at this point, but I'd said before that you had this rapid evolution of game design, and it wasn't really until the PS360 generation that you really saw a good handle on a lot of the game genres out there. I would say that the one exception to that would be, or maybe the big exception to that, would be sort of these platformer games. So yeah, I mean, in the N64, PS1, Saturn era, you did have some things that people would consider gems, like Mario 64 and Banjo-Kazooie and stuff like that. Maybe Croc or Crash Bandicoot or whatever. But I would say the PlayStation 2 was really, if you wanted good platformer games, was where you should have been. Because, I mean, I didn't like Mario Sunshine very much. But, you know what? Sly Cooper, great game. Great platformer game. One that I say still holds up. I would say that Ratchet and Clank was a great game in its era, still holds up. I'd say, Jak and Daxter, great game in its era, still holds up. The platformer games like this, I wouldn't say that they haven't evolved and gotten better since then, but you've really, they've almost plateaued into the PS2 era. And it was really the PS2 where you wanted to go if you wanted the good platformers. As much as people say Mario 64 has aged like fine wine, I don't believe it has. I think the camera's a pain in the ass. I think Mario's momentum-based movement doesn't do the game a whole lot of favors. I mean, it's not a bad idea, momentum-based movement and all that, but I think it's not tuned that great. I think some of the levels, I don't like the design of them. But I mean, look at the era it came out in. It was absolutely the best of its era. But its era was nearly 30 years ago. And we're looking at this, where this era was 20 years ago. And, 20 years ago and 30 or 20 and 25 years ago, that's a big difference in terms of development. Not necessarily in terms of time, but development of the genre. Anyway, moving on. Okay, I'm back here. So, that was all of the games in the vault. So, 54 minutes, I'll end this one, and next episode we will go and check out all this other shit.